this is an interesting story. This gentleman played college golf with Luke Donald, right-handed at Northwestern. And here we are, I don't know, 20 years later, 22 years later, he has the Yips, right-handed. And he's a hell of a competitor. And he says, James, I want to start playing again, but I want to think about playing left-handed. Right-hander playing left-handed. He also is a speed golfer, where you run between shots. So I said, okay, TC is his name. All right, TC. He got some raggedy left-handed clubs, and we started going to town. And he started hitting a lot of balls, so he was getting this motion, but we had to refine that motion, because obviously he didn't have any speed. So if you have a young kid come to you, and my parents go, he's a switch hitter, he's like the next god. So test the next god and see which way he swings the fastest and go with that one. Because he ain't gonna be a god, he might not be playing when he's 12. But anyway, we started teaching him. So he had to learn everything. And we used on the ground, and there's several things that he had wrong, and they're listed over here, 1 through 6. You think I had fixed all of them in one lesson? Not a chance. And when you fix 1 or 2 of them, does that give them a finished product? No. So they're in limbo. You know, when you go to a dentist and he's got a tooth to extract, and he's going to build you another tooth, he knows you're leaving his office the first day in pain and not complete. Unfortunately, if we've got a long-term deal with our students, they're going to leave us in pain of golf. But you have to let them know that, and most people are willing to go through the pain if they know there's a reward. Because like the 10-step math problem, when I tell that to really successful people, they go, I get it. The type A that's never, ever, they're always unsatisfied. If they know, most of them are smart enough. When you explain that 10 thing I'm talking about, say you're not getting paid until you get here. That goes along anything. Okay, so we had to teach him no pre-take back forces. His feet were dead. No, nothing. When that club moved is when this started to move. That's first. Second, he had late positive lateral force, right-handed golfer, which means it took too long for me to be beating Nolan pushing the car back. Nolan was winning, you know, and then here we go, right? Number 3, he had no vertical torque at the top. Vertical torque we haven't talked about at all, which is our rotation value. So to rotate, we have to use what we call anterior posterior force with our feet. Anterior posterior, okay? So as we go back, this shearing motion of the feet both help us turn back and go through. At transition, when the club started down, he had none of this force in place, which is pushing this back and pushing this forward. He had none of that force in place. So how in the hell is he going to get open? He can't. So we had to teach him that. Late low, and lead leg forces. So he didn't reach maximum left lead side verticals till after impact. That's worthless. So they were low. His verticals wasn't even but 100%. See this blue line right there? Only reached 100, maybe 100. Low. What should you look for lead? I'd say 130 to 150 max lead vertical force. Okay, that's a normal, pretty decent golfer. But he's not there, so obviously you don't know club head speed. And then he had no negative lateral force before impact. Now I'm acting like he's right-handed. He had none of this wind going on. I mean, think about it. Why do you think he swung so slow? Because it's part of the whole. It's not all of it. And then he had too much trail force on the downswing, which means he was just, a lot of people do re-engage this trail leg, right leg force. I don't care for it. But some great players do it, and I ain't taking it away if they're striking it, not doing it. What did I do? Here's the before and after swings using the force plates. So first of all, look at take back right here, flat line. Flat line. He ain't doing nothing to the ground. Club starts, okay? After that training drill, we're over here. See the laterals moving back and forth, the verticals moving back and forth, flat line, flat line. Nothing going on. How do we teach pre-take back cadence? All right, Nolan, you're on stage, buddy. Palms out, straight arms, back and forth continuous swings from here to here. And try not to get something too heavy. I want him to do this with his body and not his arms. Show him some bad ways. No, but you're trying to do it with their arms. And if you do it right, do it right. Now watch his heels as he goes. Smaller, smaller, and a little bit faster. Those heels have to come off the ground some. You do this, the golfer, let them swing it back and forth. You'll see when they look uncoordinated, and they sure as hell will feel uncoordinated. And when they lock in continuous, now all of a sudden, I call it dancing with the kettlebell. I'm not the first person with that drill, but let me tell you something. It's one of my favorites because you could do, and we capture them on the force plates doing it. And it's night and day how these graphs look doing that. Then we do it with a club, continuous. So again, step drill first, continuous with a kettlebell second, small swings, pretty fast. But why you think I want to go fast? Do you know how close together maximum trail, lateral, and lead reverse lateral is? It's boom, boom. It's like, it's not. In the 70s, swing slow, swing in control. We were teaching the athleticism right out of me. It was funny, I was an average distance hitter in college. I'd say better than average a little bit. But when I played in the Oldsmobile Scramble in the 90s, where it was scramble, I was flying the ball back then with a head this big, 300 yards. I wasn't knowing what I was doing, but I just swung as hard as I could because I didn't care. I had 4 other people to hit. So show them the continuous with a club, that gets it more golf feeling. Go. Shorter and faster. Feet a little bit closer, but not much. Okay? Then you capture that, and you start seeing the lead and the lead foot and the trail foot. Those graphs will cross. We want them crossing with the pressure into the ground because we want it efficiently going lead, trail, lead, without moving lateral. You notice when he did this drill, he didn't have any lateral motion, but he had plenty of lateral trace, center of pressure. So set up for me. If I'm behind Nolan and he doesn't know it, matter of fact, give me the club and cross your arms on your chest. So he's just standing there, la-di-da-da-da-da. I'm behind him with a machete. And a machete, I chop him off at the knee. Which way is he going to fall? Not that way. He'll go that way. Where did his pressure go? Into the ground. I chopped his left knee off. Trail foot. So to get the pressure to the trail foot, you don't have to make this big move over here. I like a small one. I like to rock the car. No problem with a small one. What's small? An inch of the middle of the pelvis. This grape and this grape, if they go a little bit that way, I'm okay because they have to get that way early. So he falls left, but the weight goes to the right. So I grew up in the house. Hal Sutton and I played golf against each other in college, and Hal was working with Jimmy Ballard. He was moving off this ball, so what the hell you think James was doing? I mean, I'd have been chewing on a hot pepper if I knew it made me better. So everybody was trying to do that. Well, my problem is I wasn't getting left early enough to overtake it. So those are things that you just have to understand. Then the next part, put your toes all the way to the end of that and choke way up on the club. Give me golf. So what the next drill is, continuous with a finish. So watch what he's going to do. Not a big backswing, shorter, faster. And he's going to choose. When he's dancing, I want to finish whenever you're ready. And watch what that frickin' graph looks like then. You don't see none of this confusion. You have to put the athlete back in the golfer. You can have good athletes that do this dead wrong. They got no chance of hitting the ball. Put the athlete back in the golfer, and I don't care if it's Mrs. Haverkamp. She could do it better, and she does. And then, so then what we create, it's the cadence between one and the other is so fast we put a metronome on. Boom, 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 boom. So I want that cadence before the golf club starts. You can barely see it. but it's in there, bigger than Dallas. And you see very few tour players are not doing the little shuffle before they go. So you're creating a cadence before the club moves, and then you go. For those of y'all who, you know, look, I was that way, choking. The worst thing you need to do is go motionless. That's a recipe for disaster. So I love that. So cadence, that's how we fix the cadence. Kettlebell swings, continuous swings with the club hip high, continuous with finish position, no ball capture, and then win the ball capture. Why do you think we do a no ball and with the ball? We want to see how much they revert. I tell golfers in a lesson, we are only hitting balls after you warm up and I capture you. The only reason we're hitting the ball from then on is to see how much you revert after I tell you what to do. I expect reversion. And then we go, and then before we finish, I want their full speed, and I want to see what they're leaving with, and then I'll go make an adjustment at the end to get that club doing more of the better thing. That make sense? So here's the impact alignments. Speed, path, face, and impact point. You can only change them in these ways. Speed, more or less the same. Path, vertical. In other words, angle of attack. The angle of attack is nothing but the vertical path. So isn't the club moving in one vector too? One. And that vector is measured between the horizon and the flag stick. But it's only one direction of force. Okay? So that's how you can have, that's why path is vertical and horizontal, but they're really one direction. Then the face is also the face vertically, or we add loft, subtracting loft. Face isn't just left and right. So when that stick sticking out of the face perpendicular, that's the horizontal, and that's the vertical. These forces and getting you in position are critical for you to change what you're doing. Does that make sense? So we're not going to go in all that. That's my 16 hours. All right. Here's this continuous kettlebells. They're symmetric. That's the lateral. But look at the verticals. You see these perfectly crossed. While the blue's turning on, the red's turning off. The blue's turning on, the red's turning off. That's good stuff. That's the secret sauce. Okay? Then we do continuous bell swings with swing cadence. Now that's with a golf club. See it playing? And we could stop it and then play it slow. Then continuous club swings, that's him. So the club, it doesn't change. You could skip the kettlebell, but I think the kettlebell's heavy enough, and you want them to move it with their body, keep their upper arms against their rib cage. Until they dance with that kettlebell, you don't go to step 2. And they'll be able to tell you when they do. And now continuous swings with a finish. Now watch this. Gonna go. Boom. So there's what the graph should look like. Oh, it started again. They cross in a big manner, and they get big. That's athleticism. So if a person's scared of a hole, don't like the look of the hole, do you think they use the ground the same as the hole before that was downwind, wide open, par 5? Or the par 4 with OB stakes on both sides? What do you think their forces do? They get scared. Well, if you change these forces within your body, it changes every segment's positional place and space, which eventually is at the end of the club, which is a disaster. The takeaway from that is always swing committed. Hear that from the psychological side. Well, if you're not committed, it shows up in this. It'll show up. But I can't bring the force plates on the golf course. You competed, you played on the tour. When you were uncommitted, good things didn't happen. But now you know why, because these segments get out of position and timing, and the club is the result. I live in New Orleans, Louisiana. Guess who gets all the pollution from 3/4 of the country? New Orleans. From Pittsburgh to Minnesota to North Dakota, all comes through New Orleans. Well, in golf, when you do something bad from the ground up, eventually it winds in that club head. And that's bad news bears. You can see these humps. You see that trail foot humping up there, and you see that trail foot not coming up. This is at impact right here. So he was staying on his trail side, and you notice that blue hump's not much higher than the red one. Now the blue hump's way higher than the red one. All he did was do this. Better. And he says, James, I quit hitting fat shots. I only hit 1 out of 10 fat shots that I used to hit. So he's a new golfer. You don't want to watch him chip and putt because he'll kill you still. So he does that right-handed. Remember I told you he was, well, the left-hander, he was under-rotated? So the reason is because he didn't have the Greg Norman feet even engaged when the club changed direction. He started all of this when the club started down. It's too late. So go ahead and stand up here. And we're going to do baseball pelvis lead. Go all the way to the end. Shorten the club, grip it at the metal. Okay, we're going to do this right-handed dude. He's left-handed. So he'll look a little spazzy right-handed, but he does it okay. So how do you get this AP force to engage before the club changes in transition? Tour players are about 50 Newton meters per kilogram. Not going to explain that, but I just remember 50. With an iron, with a driver, about 70 of this AP force. So when you push this foot back and this push forward, that's how we rotate. Okay? So it's a lot of, like if you were looking from the sky and he had one of those T things that you take a lug wrench off with on a tire, and you got a camera from the sky, he's pushing on this one, or this one, he's pulling on this one and pushing on this one, but they're working together because they're on opposite sides of the center of mass. We want that to kick in early. This drill will do it, fix it. So you start off feet square, arms extended, at 45 degrees forward with his pelvis and his body. Now, this isn't how I want you to totally hit a golf ball, but I call it the pelvis lead drill. His pelvis is going to power the back swing, and the arms will be swung, and before this club gets to the top, he's going to turn it that way. Okay, and then that will make that AP force kick in earlier and learn to do it faster. So if you're a non-rotator, there's the secret sauce for that to help. So I can't do it. I got a bad back. I literally am on muscle relaxers. So if I'm a little loopy, but anyway, you on the golf course, when you see a golfer go like this, all four of these segments are doing the same thing. The two shoulders are stacked over the pelvis, and they're doing the same thing. And you see a 16-year-old go, Phew. This is already rotating before the club changes direction. Big time. Do you know your pelvis is turning its fastest on the downswing about when the left arm is up here? I can't do that, for a tour player. And from that point, it's slowing down. But it's turning the fastest here, not at impact, here. And that you have to have that force in place before that club changes direction. This is the easiest one to teach. If you have plates, you can measure somebody and see instant. I'm not saying they're always going to be open because there's more things to open. You know, you got to kind of switch the knees, and there's some other things that you have to do to be open. At the top, he went from 0 vertical torque. So what's the vertical torque? If I have an axis running through my center of mass, the torque, the turning or twisting is around that axis. Okay? He had 0 at transition when we started. Now he's 66 Newton meters. What did I tell you tour players were? In the 50s. So he has already got enough in the system at transition. What do you think his club head speed's doing the whole time we're teaching this? Okay? It isn't the only thing. We still had to pay attention to path, face, and impact point, which is my real expertise. And when I got these plates 7 years ago, I didn't know how to turn them on. Much less to know what to look for. But I knew it was right because I saw them 30 years earlier. So, and I had nobody to call. Nobody else knew what to do with them either. So I just started capturing swings, measuring, not even saying anything, and then you start seeing these commonalities among good players. And as somebody said, great players leave clues. Well, here's some of the clues. You can't see this force with a video camera. Teaching with just a video camera. Oh my God, I got to go back to I think I had my first non-video camera. I had a video camera from 82 to 88, and then I got a swing analyzer that as the club went across the ground, this plate had holes in it. It would measure the club going, inside out, outside in. It wouldn't show you down or up. It'd say the face was open, face was closed. So I only teach, so anybody just giving lessons with just a video, I'm not saying they can't help people, because you can, but you're missing things you'll never catch. I was in the hospital 6 days ago, with my back and other things. You know, you have to, you have to fix it all to get better. And so when you just fix these one lesson, that's what we'll work on. Next lesson, that's what we'll work on. He knows he's not a finished product, nor should he have the expectations of one. That's pretty much it of this one. I have 16 hours of presentation, and all of this stuff is in my master. So I have 16 hours of presenting information. This is a small part. One of the things I do guest instruction, and those of y'all who know me know that I was pretty much one of the first people to teach with TrackMan. I definitely was in the TrackMan family early to how to use it, and it's been one of the biggest blessings in the world. These guys at Smart2Move, I've had these plates since 2018. They started to help putting these pieces together because I had 3D. I had 3D for 12 years before I had force plates. So this tied the two together. Now I know why we have these sways, thrusts, and lifts, and the turns and stuff are also influenced by this AP force. So there's a lot of things done with the upper body that influences the lower body too. We're not some statue that our body works good, because we couldn't hit a ball very far if we just did this. I mean, I need moved. So it takes a village. So it's not just the legs, it's not just ground reaction forces. Never want to sell it that way. But if you're not using them right, you lose in speed and position. And you only change something if it helps the golfer in front of you. Don't try to make everybody do the same thing. But just from what I said, on top of the ball for throwers, which that's the people paying your bills. That doesn't mean I want, this is a horrible thing to do early, because where do they want to go? So grab the kettlebell, Nolan. Put it in front of you. All right, if I ask Nolan to throw that kettlebell that way, turn back, don't throw it, turn back and turn through, he'll look like that. That looks pretty conventional. But if I told Nolan, here's a 65-year-old man like me that got hit by an 18-wheeler in 05, kind of messed me up. If I can't turn, how's he going to throw it out the door? He's going to squat and jump. He's going to. That's all your kids have. These little kids, small kids, that's all they have. That's their force to throw it out the door. That doesn't mean we don't train them to do this. Look, that grape it never stays still. It's moving, it stops and reverses. But we want, that has to be the same and committed the same for the club to have a chance to find the ball the same. And you take those forces out by being careful, you'll ruin the whole system. So whatever you do, you find your committed speed. If it's 60%, which that's fine. Me, I tell most of my students 80 to 85% of max. And it depends on that golfer where I'm at, where I change it from there. Because your commitment changes your forces. All right, well, I want to thank Nolan, my assistant, for everybody to be here. These are the smaller plates, by the way. I have the research grade plates. They put out the same exact, basically the same exact numbers. So these are awesome because they're big enough. You could move them apart. In a full swing, they wouldn't be that close. There's a spacer to put in the middle of them, and then you go to town. Now these are put in a platform, which is beautiful. If you saw the picture of my platform, it looks like a Tetris game, because I had to build the platform, and I had these first, and then I had the big ones second, and I'm cutting this thing and piecing it together to where they're all level. And I teach people from putter to driver, and they never move off the plates. I use the plates every single lesson. Every one. Do I tell them stuff? No. Did my doctor who did my MRI last Friday tell me anything? Hey James, you need to see this image and I want you to see this and see. No, he didn't tell me any of that stuff. Take some muscle relaxers and a steroid. Well, you don't have to tell your people, only you need to tell them enough to convince them to not start doing other stupid things. Teach them that unless you get all the pieces right, you got nothing. And if they know that, and if they're smart enough, they'll become more patient with themselves and more patient with you. because you can't have a business that only has marketing marketing and sales and not have distribution or not have insurance or not. It's a full prong approach.